maybe it's just not that time. But in your opinion right now, with everything that's going on, is CERN still relevant to what we're seeing in the world now?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I believe so. So a lot of the recent resurgence in popularity of the CERN topic is because they recently fired the LHC back up, and they're trying to do new experiments. And years ago, Tom Horn and I wrote a book called Abaddon Ascending, and we asked that very question: is CERN going to open the abyss? Is CERN responsible for prophecies like Revelation 9? And in short, the answer is I don't know. But there are some things where it could be. It could at least be a part of it or something like that. Mm-hmm. And if not CERN, maybe another particle collider, or it could be something else completely different that has nothing to do with particle colliders. But the reason that we asked that question is because at the time, and this was back in 2016, I think, at that time, there were a lot of news articles going around, basically these doomsday things saying that, CERN is going to create a black hole. CERN is going to create strangelets and destroy the world. CERN is going to, open up the abyss. CERN is going to do all of these things. And I really wanted to look at what the LHC is. What does CERN do? And is that even possible? And so I think in the book, we give a really balanced view. We do definitely get into the occult imagery that is around CERN. I mean, there are some dark things for sure. But at the same time, we balance that with what is the actual science that they're doing? And are these claims that these online publications are making, are they even possible? And taking all of that into consideration, could this have a prophetic role? And so we can get into all that. But yeah, there are some strange coincidences with CERN and the LHC. I would not say that there's anything definitive that I could put my finger on and say, see, that right there proves that this is going to cause Revelation 9. I don't know that for sure, but there are some strange coincidences. Mainly, one of the main things we can do, or one of the main things they want to do, and I can break this all down throughout the show, but they've said for years, and they were saying back then, they have not been shy about this, that they want to probe extra dimensions, map them out, and even try to communicate with any beings or entities that might exist in these higher dimensions. Now, not everyone at CERN is doing this. Not everyone at CERN believes in this, but this kind of talk comes from the higher ups, like their science director at the time. I don't know if he still is, but at the time it was Sergio Bertolucci, and he said in making comments about that, he said that, when we do this, perhaps some unknown unknowns might come through. And he's on record saying that. We put the quote in the book. I think we even put it right in the back of the book, too. So there are people at CERN and some of the higher ups that have some weird, motivations and weird beliefs. But the Revelation 9 connection, it's because to a scientist, probing extra dimensions is just a scientific effort. They're not, to a normal scientist, they're not seeing anything spiritual in it, because a lot of scientists aren't spiritual at all. So they're just seeing it as like space exploration or something. It's just another frontier of exploration. But to a Christian, we look at that, and I write about this in the book too. We say, okay, well, what are higher dimensions? Is it possible that higher dimensions could be what we call the spirit world? And I think that in my books, Quantum Creation, Cherubim Chariots, which I will mention, the best place to get those books, if anyone's interested right now, is prophecywatchers.com. Yes, they are available on Amazon, but why would you want to support an already bloated, super rich company when you can support a really good ministry? So prophecywatchers.com. But anyway, so as I lay out in that book, in Quantum Creation, that I think there's a strong case to be made that when we think of extra dimensions, this is actually spiritual reality. Mm-hmm. So for the Christian, when we hear that CERN wants to probe these dimensions and send communication through, that to me is like reaching into heaven. I mean, that to me is like reaching in and trying to communicate with spiritual beings. It's the same beings, just different terms. Extra dimensional, spiritual. I don't think there's a difference. That reminds me of things like the Tower of Babel. And so the question is, what is the initiation point? Because during the whole Tower of Babel situation, when you really dig into that story and find out all the details, what happened was they were trying to reach into heaven because they wanted their other gods. They wanted their false gods. They didn't want to serve God, the real God, Yahweh. They wanted to serve their false gods. And in essence, God was like, all right, have your false gods spread everybody all over the earth. And that's why we have all these religions and all these different places. You want these corrupt fallen angels over you? Fine, you got it. But the amazing thing is God always made a path back. If anybody wanted to follow Yahweh, there was always a path back. So I'm wondering if something similar to that is going to happen. And maybe that's the initiation point of Revelation 9. We keep probing these dimensions, trying to send messages through, and maybe at one time God releases his protection. God lifts the veil a little bit and says, hey, fine. You want these guys? You want what's over there? You're not going to like it, but fine, you got it. And then bottomless pit opens, locusts come out, and so that's kind of like a brief overview of just the whole CERN thing. And we can take this in any area you want, but as far as the scientific pursuits, and they're doing other things too. I mean, there are a lot of things. I would say 90% of the things that they're doing at CERN are pretty benign, and they're just trying to discover new particles and stuff that we haven't discovered yet. I don't think that's a big deal because right now, the particle collisions that are happening at CERN have been happening in our atmosphere ever since the Earth was created. There's cosmic rays that come into our atmosphere and create those same particle collisions. So if it was only the particle collision itself that was creating portals and doing all this crazy stuff, well, we would already have those in our atmosphere since forever. But what I think is really important is the intent. The cosmic ray thing, that just happens naturally. We don't have anything to do with that. But if we're doing something, if the intent is to try to communicate with some spiritual being or extra dimensional being or what have you, however anybody wants to explain that and define it, if that's our goal, then I think that can put us in a very dangerous place.